Last night, along party lines, the U.S. House passed a continuing resolution to fund the government through December the 3rd. Now, current funding authorization is set to expire at the end of the month. In addition to funding the government agencies and funding disaster relief and Afghan refugee resettlement, the resolution, listen to this, also suspends the debt limit, giving the Democrat majority a blank check, enabling them to pass their massive spending bills.
Yesterday evening, Senator Shelby and I introduced a continuing resolution that would pass the Senate, that could pass the Senate and prevent a government shutdown. Our legislation would fund the government through December. It would restore the defensive assistance for our ally Israel that House Democrats stripped out to appease some of their worst elements of the far left. As one frustrated Democrat congressman stated yesterday, quote, a missile defense system like Iron Dome defends civilians from missiles, hence the name. Only in a morally inverted universe would this be considered a controversy, end quote. That's a House Democrat describing the action yesterday of House Democrats. And our bill also removes the debt limit language that Democrats have known since July. Since July, will not receive bipartisan support from Senate Republicans. As one of my colleagues put it succinctly, if Washington Democrats want to jam through trillions of dollars in reckless spending all by themselves, they can raise the debt limit all by themselves.
That was the Republican leader on the floor of the Senate earlier today. Joining me now to discuss this and much more is U.S. Senator Steve Daines of Montana, a member of the Senate Finance Committee and the chairman of the Pro-Life Caucus in the Senate. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Hey, it's good to join you, Tony.
I think the leader laid it out pretty clearly that the continuing resolution is not going to get any support in the Senate. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. And the leader and the rest of the Republican senators have been very clear on this, going back to July. And the bottom line is this: if the Democrats are going to push forward on a purely partisan basis, the largest spending bill in the history of our country, Tony, let me say that again, the largest spending bill in the history of our country, it's $3.5 trillion. And actually, as we've analyzed, it's probably more like $4 to $5 trillion. You look at the real financial impact on our country of these massive expansions in the nanny state, free daycare, free community college, Green New Deal, and so forth. If they're going to do that, then they're going to pass this debt ceiling increase on their own without any Republican support.
Do they need Republican support to get it through?
They don't. So they have this parliamentary maneuver called this reconciliation that allows them to do that with simply 50 votes plus, of course, Vice President Kamala Harris breaking the tie. They can do this on their own. And Tony, guess what? They're going to do it on their own because you're not going to see a single Republican support their efforts to raise the debt ceiling.
So this will fit within the reconciliation measure, a debt ceiling limit?
It does. And there's two dates coming upon us in terms of kind of, quote, fiscal cliffs. One's the end of the fiscal year, the federal government. That's September 30th. And that would be what they call a CR, continuing resolution, to extend basically the spending, the budgets for the day in and day out federal government. The debt ceiling, according to Secretary Yellen, that crisis occurs more likely in the middle or the end of October. There's plenty of time for them to move through the budget committee to put through another provision that would allow them to pass that in plenty of time to avoid any of this crisis that Yellen and the Democrats are talking about. So they've got enough time. And guess what? They're going to do it with purely Democrat votes because we as Republicans are not going to be complicit in what they're doing here. It's like sending your kids to the mall, Tony, with credit cards with no limits. We're not going to allow the Democrats to have Republicans join them in raising the debt ceiling in this outrageous, reckless spending spree they're on at the moment.
Yeah, there's no question that is what it is. But Senator Daines, let me lay out, is this the most likely scenario, the CR? They take the debt provision out of the CR, they restore the funding for the Iron Dome system for our ally Israel, and then Republicans support the CR? Or they can't do the CR, the continuing resolution, on their own, can they?
Right. No, they'll need to have support to get the CR passed, as long as they don't have the debt ceiling increase included. If the debt ceiling is part of the CR, you're not going to see Republicans supporting it. So they've got to remove this debt ceiling lift. They also have to reinstate the Iron Dome funding. Tony, you heard the speaker quoting a Democrat saying they're morally inverted. That captured it very well. That's Democrats speaking about what other Democrats are doing when they stripped the Iron Dome funding. And of course, Iron Dome is a missile defense system. It protects innocent civilians from terror attacks, primarily coming from Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So this is a system that protects innocent lives from terrorism. And to think that Democrats strip that funding out, what a gut punch to the nation of Israel.
Well, and I know that it works because I was there during one of the uprising in the Gaza Strip, and one of the rockets, one of the missiles coming in, was intercepted by the Iron Dome right where we were, and I saw it as we were diving into a bunker. I want to move on to the border. The Biden administration yesterday saying that Haitians were being turned back, they were being deported, they were sitting back home. But the AP, surprisingly, I want to read this quote from the AP because I was shocked that they would actually report this. But it says that many Haitian migrants camped in a small Texas border town are being released in the U.S., two U.S. officials say, undercutting the Biden administration's public statements that thousands in the camp faced immediate expulsion. What's happening?
Tony, what you just reported is accurate. What we have just discovered, despite the fact we're hearing the Biden administration are deporting these Haitians back to their home country, there are 9,000 Haitians, as we speak, camped out on our side of the border. Now, here's the hypocrisy of what's going on, Tony. I come from a northern border state, the state of Montana. The Biden administration has shut down the northern border, does not allow Canadian citizens to come into the United States. We want to have them come into places like Montana to do business for tourism dollars. It helps our economy out. Canadians are shut out, even though Trudeau allowed American citizens to go into Canada on August 9th. Biden has shut the Canadian border down for Canadians to come into the United States. At the same time, the southern border is wide open. And by the way, the vaccination rate of the Haitians is less than 0.5%. Well, on the other hand, the Canadians, it's over 70%. So this is such inexplicable hypocrisy of what's going on at the moment. Just when we thought things couldn't get worse, here we have another crisis on our southern border.
And the last time I checked, I didn't see the Canadians trying to sneak across the border.
No, we've said in Montana to our Canadian friends, if you want to get into Montana, take a flight to Mexico City, come across the southern border, and that's the best way to get into Montana right now, based on Biden's policies.
It sounds funny, but it's true. Very quickly, another issue. You, Senator Langford, and Hawley have sent a letter to the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, asking for an investigation into the University of Pittsburgh's procedures regarding the use of fetal tissue. What's going on there?
Yeah, well, this is sickening. Information has been made available here. They're using fetal tissue, fetal body parts for research. As somebody who's strongly pro-life, I'm a grandfather of two. Our daughter is going to have our third grandbaby here in December. We are fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. And to think they're taking baby parts here for research is just absolutely reprehensible. And so I'm thankful for my colleagues like Senator Langford, Senator Hawley, who have asked for investigation of what in the world's going on here in Pennsylvania.
That's illegal, is it not?
It is illegal. It's a violation of the law. And that is why we've asked the Department of Justice here to investigate.
All right. Senator Steve Daines, always great to talk with you. Thank you for your leadership on Capitol Hill, and thank you for fighting for the unborn.
Tony, it's my honor to be here fighting on those who can't fight it for themselves. Appreciate it.